Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. So today we are canning up some pickled red onions. So these are amazing for burger toppings, hot dog toppings, anything that you would put like pickled onions on or pickled regular pickles on. Fantastic. This is a pretty easy recipe to do. It's just a little bit time consuming because you're going to want to start off with 4 pounds of onions. So these are garden onions, so we had to actually weigh them out. But if you go to a grocery store and get grocery store onions, you're looking for like a bag of onions. Typically on the tag, it'll tell you how many pounds they are. So 4 pounds of onions, and you're going to want to thinly slice them. And so just like that, we are sliced. So you take those 4 pounds of onions. You can 100% use a mandolin. I just did it by hand, and I was able to get them nice and thin. So whatever you decide to do, doesn't really matter as long as you have those red onions and they're all sliced up. The other things you're going to need is 3 cups of white vinegar, 1 cup of white sugar, 2 teaspoons of mustard seed, 2 teaspoons of allspice, and you're wanting that whole, 3 tablespoons of pickling salt, 8 sprigs of thyme, and 8 bay leaves. So this recipe is going to make 7 to 8 half pints, or the jam jars. And it's a pretty simple recipe. You're going to take a pot. We are going to put the 3 cups of vinegar in it. And you're also going to add the 3 tablespoons of pickling salt and also that cup of sugar. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the stove. And we're going to put it on medium heat, and we are going to make this come to a boil until the sugar and the salt all completely dissolve. So I'm just using a whisk here. You're going to want to continuously stir as this comes up to a boil because we don't want that sugar to burn to the bottom, because if we do leave it just unattended, it's possible that it could. At the same time that this is going, we're getting our water bath going, because we're going to want this hot, because this is going to be a hot brine that we transfer into those jars, making the jars hot. And we don't want those jars to cool down and then put them into a boiling water canner, because if you do that, you risk the jars breaking from going cold into hot. Now, while all of this is going on and we're just standing here keeping an eye on this, in each one of our jars, we want to add a 1/4 teaspoon of each one of the seeds, a sprig of thyme, and a bay leaf to each jar. So we're going to go in to each jar and do a 1/4 teaspoon of the allspice, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of the mustard seed to each jar, and then again 1 bay leaf to each jar, and then 1 sprig of thyme. Okay, so this is what our jars look like all packed up. And then now we've got this boiling. As you can see, all of the salt and sugar has dissolved. Now at this point, I'm turning this right down to low, and we're going to put all of our onions in here. So I've got them all in here. I'm going to just mix everything around. As you can see, the liquid is up here. And I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. So I want these to cook for 5 minutes. We're breaking them apart, no longer than 5 minutes. We're not looking to get these onions soft. We're looking to just kind of almost parboil them. And the reason that we want to do that is to not only release the flavor into the brine, but also cook them down a little bit so that they're porous when they're in the jars to soak up all of the rest of the flavor. So have them in here coating, and you're wanting them to simmer in here. But like I said, if you have to turn it up a little bit, you have to turn it up a little bit because you're looking for that simmer. But once they hit a simmer, no more than 5 minutes. We're already pretty much simmering here just because we were already at such a hard boil. But do not let them get soft. Keep them pretty hard. And we'll see you back here in 5 minutes to pack the jars. Okay, so we've been simmering for about 5 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to pack these onions into these jars. And we're going to pack them all the way up to almost the top. And you can pack them tight I mean, I would pack them as tight as you absolutely can because there's not a ton of liquid that's going to be left over, and the brine's going to just pour over top and we're going to get those air bubbles out. So go ahead and pack these jars nice and tight with those onions. So you've got it looking like this, but I just want to err you on caution. Of course, the onions are now hot, so just be careful as you're doing it, and things are sticky. It's just going to be messy, but pay off in the end, right? So let's continue on packing all these jars. Okay, so we have these all packed. Now I only ended up getting 7 out of this batch, no big deal. As you can see, this is what's left over, and I kind of just made the executive decision that that's not going to do an 8th jar. So I've got my 7 jars packed here. Now at this point, we're going to want to take a funnel and a ladle, and you want your brine to cover the onions, and we're going to come up to about 1/2 inch headspace. So we're going to come up to about this line here. I don't know why I'm showing you on the back one. I should really be showing you on this one. So we're going to come up here. We're going to fill the brine all the way to the top and submerge these all. So about 1 ladleful did the trick here. As you can see, I pull this off and now it's got liquid. So we're going to do that with all of them, and every single one that you do them when you're done, you can do it whenever you want, either now or when you're done doing all of them, but you're going to grab a knife or a chopstick or whatever you have, a skewer, and we're going to want to release the air bubbles. And that's just simply going in, and see all those air bubbles coming up. We're getting rid of those because air bubbles can trap pockets of unwanted stuff in there. So let's go ahead and do that for all of the jars. Okay, so they are filled, all are filled, sorry. And now we've got our brine over top of them. I've let the air bubbles out. Now you want to take a damp cloth or paper towel and you want to wipe the rims of all the jars. Everything is very, very sticky right now, and you want to make sure all of your onions are just down there. But you're going to wipe the rims of all the jars. And that's just to make sure, if you don't know, that you don't have any debris on your rim, because when we put our lid on, we want to make sure we have a really good seal. So we're putting our lid on, our warm lids. We're going to do that fingertip tight. So all of our rings go on just fingertip tight, not overly tightened, because we don't want to have the lid siphon inside of the canner. So go ahead and put all of your lids and your bands on fingertip tight. And then we are putting them into the water bath canner for 15 minutes process time. So if you had switched it up and decided to do full pints, you would only get about 4 of them, and it's still going to be the same process time of 15 minutes. So go ahead and drop those in. And once you've dropped them in, you might have to wait a minute for it to come back up to a rolling boil. And once it's back up to that rolling boil, process for 15 minutes, and I will show you what they look like at the end of the processing time. And here is the finished product. Your pickled red onions. So excited for these. They're going to be best if you leave them on the shelf for at least a week to really develop those flavors. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Bye.